In today's video, I'm going to be covering the key differences between Alexandria and Arlington, Virginia. I just had clients who were choosing between the two cities, so I'm going to share the top things that they were considering, and then at the end of the video, I'll let you know where they ended up buying. If you're new here, I talk about traffic and commuting a lot, and if you are one of my regular viewers, you already know that's what I'm going to start with, commuting. Which commute is better, Arlington or Alexandria? So the good news is they are both really close to DC, but the bad news is you're going to be dealing with traffic no matter which city you live in. So if you're working in DC, what are your options? Well, you obviously have public transportation. Both Arlington and Alexandria have great access to Metro. Arlington does have more Metro stations, but if you have a car and prefer to use a car, Alexandria has more Metro stations that offer parking for cars, so keep that in mind. The other great thing about both Arlington and Alexandria is the ability to bike to work. I'm gonna say that Arlington is more bike friendly than Alexandria is because depending on where you are in Alexandria, it's either going to be really easy to bike into the city or not so great. If you're in like the old town Mount Vernon of Alexandria, you could take the Mount Vernon Trail into the city, really easy and beautiful bike ride. But if you're further out in Alexandria that falls into Fairfax County, biking into the city is not going to be your best bet. So which one wins? I'm going to say Arlington wins this one just because it is a tiny bit closer to DC. Again, depending on where you are in Alexandria, you still might be very close to DC, but Arlington wins in terms of proximity to the city. So it's going to give you a little bit shorter commute. And hey, in Northern Virginia, if you can save a little time on your commute, by all means, that's a win. If you're working on the Virginia side, it really is a toss-up on which one's going to be the better commute. If you're working in, say, Tyson's Corner, which is a big employment hub in our area, then I'm gonna have to give it to Arlington again. But there are also a lot of jobs in Alexandria, so you may find yourself working in Alexandria, and then of course, Alexandria is gonna be a shorter commute for you. It really just depends on where you land in terms of your employment. Now let's talk housing and cost of living. And in general, overall, Arlington is going to cost you a little bit more than Alexandria. Don't get me wrong, both Arlington and Alexandria are both expensive. That's just a theme throughout Northern Virginia. In general, single family homes are also going to cost you more in Arlington. Arlington is much more dense than Alexandria is, so you will find that being able to get your little piece of land with a single family on it, it's going to run you a little bit more. Condos and townhouses, for the most part, are comparable. Again, real estate is hyper local right down to the neighborhood. So this is just an overall average of what you're going to find. I think it's also worth noting that you will find far more townhomes in Alexandria, and you will find far more high-rise condo options in Arlington. Arlington is just so much more dense than Alexandria that the lay of the land is a little bit different. It's also got a different vibe, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Single family homes are what my clients were focused in on. This is going to be a home that they are planning to be in for the next 10 to 15 years. So both Arlington and Alexandria were on the list. We were looking in both areas. But what they found after losing out on a couple single family homes in Arlington is that they were simply going way beyond the amount of money that they wanted to spend. They had a very set budget. They weren't spending anywhere near what they were pre-approved for, and I completely respect that. So after losing out on a couple, they started looking more into the areas that appealed to them in Alexandria because although it was still really competitive and still is, it wasn't quite as competitive as Arlington. There are less single family homes coming on the market right now in Arlington than there are in Alexandria. The other thing about Arlington is there's a lot of new construction going on and they're tearing old homes down and putting up really large new homes. So that ratchets the price up. In a lot of neighborhoods, base price is right around $2 million. You can find some other neighborhoods that are in the 1.5 million range, but in general, prices are definitely on the higher side in Arlington, and new construction is a factor that plays into that. To give you some context, my clients offered on a home in Lacey Forest, which is a highly sought after neighborhood, beautiful neighborhood. And this home had been impeccably maintained, and it's very rare that I will say that about a property, but it hadn't been updated whatsoever, and this home ended up selling for $249,000 above list price with absolutely no contingencies. That's just one example, and I want to reiterate that it's always going to be neighborhood specific. But in Arlington right now, competition is pretty fierce for single family homes, especially in the million to 1.5 million range. Another thing to mention about Arlington that's a key difference is they fairly recently passed what's called missing middle legislation. And what that means is for areas that were previously zoned single family homes only, they have now opened that up to be an opportunity for someone to apply for a permit for multi-family housing. So 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 units on a property. Now, it does have to conform with single family home zoning. So there are going to be setback laws, there's going to be height, depth, width, all of those parameters are still in place. But this is really something to keep an eye on because it could quite literally change the layout and the feel, the look, all of it of these single family home neighborhoods. Will Alexandria follow? Your guess is as good as mine, but it is on the table. So overall, for general cost of living and general cost of housing, Arlington wins, or maybe loses in this case, because they do come in a little bit higher than Alexandria. But again, keep in mind, this is the DC region, the DMV, Northern Virginia, all these things. This area is expensive to live in. So seeing that Arlington is slightly higher than Alexandria typically does not become a deal breaker when someone is looking for a home. And that was definitely the case in my client's instance. They had no problem that it was a little bit more expensive in Arlington. The problem was that because competition was so fierce for single family homes and it needed to have a yard because they have a dog, that just didn't work out for them. So we kept pushing towards Alexandria, but we still kept an eye on Arlington. So it could go either way. One more tidbit about cost of living here, and it's not just in Northern Virginia, it's Virginia in general, but I find that it can be a big surprise for people who are relocating here, and I absolutely hate it. It drives me crazy, and that is our personal property tax. So basically you're gonna get taxed every single year on your car, your boat, your RV, motorcycle, anything personal property related. They're going to be looking to collect from you on an annual basis. It's so annoying, and I've definitely learned over the years that it's not something that every state has, but we definitely have it here. Now let's talk about types of housing, and good news on both fronts here. You are going to find all different types of homes in both Alexandria and Arlington, from apartments all the way up to extremely large single family homes. They have got you covered there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you will find more high rises in Arlington than you will in Alexandria. And again, that's because of the lay of the land in Arlington. It is a more city vibe in Arlington, where Alexandria is more what I would say urban. It's by no means rural. You know, you're not going to be on acreage in most cases, but it certainly gives you a little bit more elbow room than the city vibe that Arlington has. The biggest density of high-rise condos is going to be in North Arlington. South Arlington is seeing a lot of build out going on right now, especially in the National Landing area, which is where Amazon HQ2 is. And just up the street, heading right into Alexandria, we're also seeing a ton of development in Potomac Yard. There are some brand new townhomes that are coming soon there. They're also building a lot of apartments in that area along Route 1. If historic homes are your thing, you're definitely going to want to look more in Alexandria. You'll find a lot more options there than what you will in Arlington. Now let's talk about going out. And for my clients, they are in their late 30s, early 40s, so they weren't really looking for walking distance to the bar scene anymore, but they did want to be close to restaurants in case they wanted to walk for an evening out, but they didn't need anything that was going to keep them up too late. So Arlington is definitely going to win out for nightlife, especially the Clarendon area. There are a lot of bars that stay open quite late there. Alexandria, you will find plenty of dining options. Arlington, you will as well, but it's more of an earlier scene as far as what you're going to experience for nightlife. My idea of nightlife is nothing past 9 o'clock. I am a morning person, not a night person, so I prefer Alexandria over Arlington for that reason. And I think that you will also find that a lot of young professionals gravitate to the Clarendon-Ballston area of Arlington because it has fantastic walkability to these nightlife activities. Cultural and historic attractions. Which one are you going to experience more? This is a toss-up because both have a lot of cultural and historic attractions. In Alexandria, just to name a couple, you of course have the Mount Vernon estate, which is absolutely gorgeous. Highly recommend checking that out, regardless if you land in Alexandria or Arlington. And then you of course have Old Town Alexandria, which is steeped in history. But Arlington holds its own because it has the Pentagon, it also has Arlington National Cemetery, it has the Iwo Jima Memorial. So which one am I going to give it to? I'm gonna say Alexandria, and here's why. Alexandria, the history and historic vibe is, in my opinion, more in your face. It's something that you're gonna see more on a daily basis than what you will in Arlington. Not to say that Arlington does not have historical attractions. They absolutely do. But you can't help but notice the historic homes. There's still a few cobblestone streets left in Old Town Alexandria, and it really gives you that old historic vibe, and it's beautiful to look through. I love driving through Old Town. This one was really important to my clients because they did not want to be in a cookie cutter neighborhood. They didn't want to be in a subdivision where all the homes look the same. They definitely wanted the homes to have some character, and they enjoy older homes and that charm that they give off. So this was a win for them in terms of Alexandria. Again, I'm not going to say that you can't find that anywhere in Arlington, but your options will be a lot less. So I'm going to give the W to Alexandria on this one. Next is schools, and this was not a factor for my clients, and I think that's important when you find out where they ultimately decided to purchase their home, but it is important for a lot of my clients, so let's talk about it. Niche.com ranks Arlington higher than Alexandria for their schools. Granted, in Northern Virginia, the school systems are very highly ranked, but you have to look at niche.com combines Alexandria City Public Schools with Fairfax County Public Schools within Alexandria. And I know that can be a little confusing. It's both Alexandria, but there's Alexandria City, and then there's Alexandria and Fairfax County. And that probably muddles things a little bit because Alexandria City is not known for their school system, with the exception of Thomas Jefferson High School, and that is the highest ranked high school in all of the country. But something to keep in mind about that is if you live in either Arlington County or Fairfax County, you can actually apply for your child to be accepted into that school. Whereas if you live in Alexandria City, but it's not in the boundaries of those that attend TJ High School, then you cannot apply. So keep that in mind if it's a school that you are really seeking for your child to go to. You either want to be in the boundary line for Alexandria City, or you're not going to want to live in Alexandria City because you're not going to be able to apply for them to get in. And it's really difficult to get in. It's so sought after that your odds are better than winning the lottery, but it is that setup. I'm always going to give this disclaimer that schools are subjective. It really depends on what type of education you are looking for your child or your children. Be sure to check out greatschools.org to review the ratings, the test scores, everything on there, because it will really help give you an idea of where you want to land and what city you're going to prefer if you have kiddos. Next up is parks, and this is one that was also really important to my clients. I mentioned that they have a dog, so they go on a lot of walks, a lot of weekend excursions to check out the different parks with him, and this was big on their list. This one is a toss-up. I'm gonna give it to Arlington because Arlington has the 5th best park system in all of the country. So that's definitely a title worth mentioning. They have 184 parks. Kudos to Arlington. But Alexandria, I'm gonna say, is still really, really good. They are no slouch, and they actually have 18 dog parks. So that was appealing to my clients too. I'm gonna say you really can't go wrong with either one. They have both done an exceptional job of preserving land and having lots of parks for residents to visit. So there you have it, Arlington versus Alexandria. They both have so much to offer that it can be a tough choice. It can come down to what type of property you're looking for and what the market is currently doing, which is exactly what happened to my clients. So where did they end up? They ended up purchasing a home, a single family home in Alexandria City. It's in a fantastic location. They can walk to shopping, dining, and entertainment. It has a big yard, well, big by Northern Virginia standards, for their dog, and they're really happy there. If you're looking to make a move from another area, I hope this gave you a better idea of the key differences between Arlington and Alexandria. And if you already live in the area but you're looking to upsize to one of these cities, be sure to grab my free upsize blueprint in the description below. Until I see you on the next one, thanks for watching.